Manx Radio's Update with Lewis Foster.
Fastamai, good evening. It's 5 o'clock on Friday the 8th of November and it's time for Update, your 30-minute look at the latest news on and from the Isle of Man. Coming up, will rising university fees push more Manx students to study on island? Crimestoppers says breaking the stigma around so-called snitching is key to getting young people to report crime. And we hear why one woman living in the US is considering moving here. All that and more, plus business, weather and sport, and what to watch out for on the roads. Let us know your thoughts, 166 177 on the text, or email studio@manxradio.com. First of all, Christian Jones has the headlines for us. Fastamai, Christian.
Fastamai. People on the island are being asked not to handle sick or dead birds after an outbreak of bird flu on a Yorkshire farm this week. While there have been no cases on the Isle of Man, the Department of Environment, Food and Agriculture says the risk level is the same as the UK. The Department of Education, Sport and Culture acknowledges the potential impact of rising UK university fees as Manx students express concern it may hinder their ability to study off-island. The Labour government has announced a near £300 increase in tuition fees in England, despite prior pledges to abolish them entirely. And recruitment of bus drivers is continuing at pace, according to Isle of Man Transport, after months of disruption. Staff sickness and shortages have seen hundreds of routes across the network delayed or cancelled since the start of September. In international news, the Israeli president says the Dutch king told him that his country failed the Jewish community last night in a way it also did during World War II. Violence broke out against Israeli football fans in Amsterdam, which has led to 62 arrests and 5 people taken to hospital. The city's mayor has announced emergency measures. A former TV producer has been ordered to pay £45,000 to 2 survivors of the Manchester Arena bombing. Richard Hall claimed the terror attack, which killed 22 people in 2017, was staged. And the Irish president has formally dissolved Parliament, beginning the process of a general election. Prime Minister Simon Harris announced the snap decision, which will see voters head to the polls on the 29th of November. Those are the updated news headlines next at 6.
Grommayed. Thank you, Christian Jones, with the headlines there. Now, the weather brought to you by Manx Glass and Glazing. Mainly dry and overcast through this evening and overnight. Light to moderate southeast wind and a minimum temperature of 8 degrees. Cloudy and dry for much of the day tomorrow, then a few drizzly outbreaks of rain overnight into Sunday. Mainly light southeast wind and a maximum temperature of 11 degrees. Cloudy with some outbreaks of rain or drizzle during much of the day on Sunday, just a small risk of some brightness in the afternoon. Risk, they say. More sunshine expected on Monday. Sunrise tomorrow morning at 7:36. Sunset tomorrow afternoon at 27 minutes past 4.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
SMS Trading have moved to 3 St Paul's Square, Ramsey. For flat pack to fully built, new or second-hand furniture, SMS Trading offer all-island delivery and man-in-a-van service. Call 315151 or find SMS Trading on Facebook.
See the island like you've never seen it before on an incredible chauffeur-driven trike tour. A unique way to make memories that will last a lifetime. Gift vouchers available too. See iomtriketours.com for details and booking.
A great night's sleep got even better with Zed's Bedding Store. From quality Beldorm bed linen and mattress protectors, fleece and woven throws to luxury duvets from the fine bedding company. Zed's Bedding Ramsey, next to Isle of Man Bank.
If you run a small business or just need more room in the back, Philshaw Vehicles has the perfect van or light commercial for all your needs and can sort out any finance. Based in the Tremode estate, view philshawvehicles.im or call 49 51 49.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
Correct, and the time now 4 minutes past 5. Rising UK university fees are prompting more Manx students to consider studying on the Isle of Man. Tuition fees in England will increase to £9,535 per year in 2024, an increase of nearly £300. Education Minister Daphne Kane says around half of school leavers have continued to choose UK universities, but a growing number are opting to remain on the island to pursue further education. Chanel Suku has been finding out more, starting with some prospective students.
I think that they should promote more scholarships to students who have the high intellect to do it, because now it's very hard.
I'm hoping to do sixth form at St Ninians, and then after that I'm off to university. But because of I feel how easier it was to make money in the past rather than today, my family's got quite a bit of savings, so I will be able to afford that. But I am also quite concerned about needing to get a scholarship and how little are offered every year and how expensive it is just to stay in a dorm.
It costs a lot of money and I'm not sure I could afford it.
Yeah, I'm pretty upset about it because at the rate it's going, it's just going to keep rising.
I've not really been thinking about it, but it does seem like a massive problem.
Would you eventually like to go across or study, do a university degree?
Yeah, I think I'd find it quite interesting because it would open up a lot of new paths.
But then when you read or you hear about the increases, that's what kind of upsets you.
It drives me away from it.
I am kind of keeping university as an open option, but it is going to be hard finding the money to do university.
Education Minister Daphne Kane told me since the coronavirus pandemic, they're also seeing an increasing number of people who choose to study on island.
Tuition fees is a concern, and I think we are seeing a shift in behaviour, certainly post-COVID, with people, whether it's because of the threats that people perceive perhaps away rather than the very safe Isle of Man, but also the prospect of increasing amounts of debt following study across. From a department perspective, we are aware of the increase that the UK has announced that will be coming into force in September 2025, and actually it fits in well. At the minute we're already reviewing the student awards, and we think that in the early part of next year we'll have completed the research and we'll be reviewing and revising those student awards regulations.
Education Minister Daphne Kane there, and Chanel speaking to those students before who have lots to consider. Now, 7 minutes past 5, breaking the stigma of snitching is key to encouraging young people to report crime, according to Crimestoppers Isle of Man. Ahead of Safeguarding Week next week, it's promoting its Fearless service, a website where young people can make a report completely anonymously. The charity, which is completely separate from the police and government, will then pass on the information to the authorities. Karen Ramsey is the chair.
So Fearless is the youth service of Crimestoppers. Crimestoppers is a charity which allows people to report crime completely 100% anonymously. And Fearless is very much aimed at young people, helping them to do exactly the same thing, to report crime anonymously, and also to help raise awareness in young people of actually what crime is, and encourage them to use our service or to go to a trusted adult when they're concerned about things that they're seeing.
How big a problem is crime within sort of the younger community here on the island?
Well, it's difficult to say how big a problem it is from the point of view of Crimestoppers. I'm sure that the police could talk more about that. But what we do see, what we are aware of, is that young people are becoming increasingly more vulnerable and subject to exploitation from a number of different directions. And what we want to do is make sure that we are working with other partner agencies, looking at how we can best protect them from that exploitation.
How difficult is it to get that message of reporting a crime through? Because there is still very much a stigma attached to the words snitch or grass. So how difficult is it to break through that?
That's absolutely true, and that's why Crimestoppers has the Fearless service, because it recognises that for young people that is a real problem. Your friendship group, people you've grown up with, possibly even, it happens occasionally, family members, and you see things that you're not even sure are a crime, but you're really concerned about. You're worried about the safety of your friends, you're worried about the safety of your community, and you want to do something, but there's this thing holding you back that says that you shouldn't. So that's one of the things that Crimestoppers can really help with. But even if a young person doesn't want to use Fearless and completely understand that, what it's about is trying to encourage young people to go and talk to somebody that they trust if they're worried about something that they're seeing.
Karen Ramsey, Chair of Crimestoppers Isle of Man. You're listening to Update on Manx Radio. A candidate in the upcoming Onken by-election says the village is full of potential for progress and will listen to residents to ensure their concerns are addressed. Dr. Scott Wilson would like to see the hub and the library used more to benefit children, as well as working closer with local businesses to start a work experience scheme.
The reason that I'm studying to be a commissioner is that I believe, or I'd like to think, that I can make a real difference to the environment and quality of life to our local community, especially in terms of the functions and services provided by Onchan. And I just thought, therefore, being a local resident based in Onchan, that I would be in a good position to be able to reflect and make a difference. There was lots of talk both in the media and on social media, and there was a lot of criticism of the commissioners themselves and sort of behaviours that were being exhibited and stuff. And I thought, you know what, it needs to be a bit more professional, because I'm sure there's more that people can achieve. And I thought, you know, it's not reflective of all the commissioners, it's just certain events. And I thought those need to be addressed. We need to improve services and local amenities for people, and I think that I could actually make a difference. I think in the short period of time it will be getting to know the foundations of what the existing issues are maybe, and how to improve those and support those where needed. In addition to that, I would hope to run for the next commissioner's election, and then what I could do in this short period, is necessarily set the foundations of stuff to grow on those. So I was looking at sort of the local economy and job creation, education and youth services, the use of Onchan Park, I mean, could that be improved? And in terms of things like community safety and well-being, it's looking at who the players are, how to engage them more effectively and make it a better place to live. A lot of people are saying, and likewise I completely agree, that we should make sure we retain our refuse collection at the point which is collected every week, keeps the area tidy, and they do deliver the service to a high standard, so I'm very much for protecting them. Above all, it's improving services from existing resources.
Dr. Scott Wilson there. The other candidates standing in the by-election we heard from this week already, Nigel Dobson and Oliver Lockwood.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
Coming up to 12 minutes past 5, let's have a look at some business news on the Isle of Man. HMRC has named Isle of Man-based company Adapt Limited as a promoter of tax avoidance, citing its involvement in a complex scheme designed to minimise tax liabilities for individuals. Christian Jones is back with the details.
The scheme allegedly operates by routing income through various entities and structuring payments as loans rather than wages, reducing tax obligations. The director of Adapt Limited, David Michael Yeomans, has also been publicly identified by HMRC in connection with the scheme. In response, HMRC has issued a stop notice legally requiring Adapt Limited to cease the promotion and the sale of the tax avoidance scheme. Adapt Limited is additionally registered under the name TGI Payday Limited, with registered offices in England.
Turning to the stock market report from Ramsey Crookall. Now, UK and European stocks edged down in afternoon trade. Wall Street stocks trading got off to a mostly positive start after the Federal Reserve Bank opted to lower its benchmark interest rate by 25 basis points. Oil prices fell on receding fears over the impact of Hurricane Raphael on oil and gas infrastructure in the US Gulf, while investors also weighed up fresh Chinese economic stimulus, and gold prices eased. At the markets at the close, the FTSE 100 down 0.95% to 8,063, DAX down 0.79% to 19,209. A short time ago, Dow Jones up 0.67% to 44,021. The S&P 500 up 0.38% to 5,995, and Nasdaq down 0.07% to 19,257. British pound sterling trading at $1.291 US dollars and 1.204 euros. Gold is down 0.63% to 2,688 US dollars, and a barrel of Brent is down 2.57% to $73.51.
I'm running late again. Do you know where I put my car keys?
In the fridge.
Where's my phone?
Under the dog basket.
Bye.
You haven't forgotten that we're seeing Ramsey Crookall later?
Oh, no, of course not. 5 p.m, is it?
2:45.
I'll be there.
Life is busy. That's why Ramsey Crookall's team takes time to help you make a mindful investment decision, considering all the options, giving you full control of your financial future. Less stress, more assurance.
Forgot to put my shoes on.
Oh.
See how we can make your money work for you. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Let's head over to the roads. There's nothing from police to be aware of. In Douglas until the 21st of January, a section of Groves Road is closed by the NSC for drainage work there. Bus services will be on divert. The NSC car park, by the way, can be accessed from the new Castletown Road. Summerhill is closed between the Promenade and Strathallan Road for gas main replacement, and Victoria Road is still one way between Stanley Place and Broadway in a southerly direction for electrical installation works. And there's temporary lights as well on Governors Road in Douglas to replace street lighting there. Quick look at the departures board, nothing to be aware of over at the airport, all on schedule this evening. And over on the sailings, no problems expected this weekend, and Manxman is sailing back from Heysham currently, due back here in Douglas at 6 o'clock. And on schedule to depart back to the Lancashire port tonight at 7:45.
Ask how you can spread the cost interest-free at Quayside. You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
16 minutes past 5 now. There's another bird flu warning on the island following an outbreak on a farm in Yorkshire this week. The virus, also known as avian influenza, was discovered on a poultry farm in the East Riding. Beth Espy reports.
A 3-kilometre protection zone is now in place around the site in Yorkshire, and all poultry at the premises will be humanely culled. It's the second bird flu outbreak in England this year, meaning Great Britain is no longer free from HPAI. While there have been no cases here on the Isle of Man, the Department of Environment, Food and Agriculture says the risk level is the same as the UK. If you keep birds, DEFRA is advising you to minimise the number of people that come into contact with them and disinfect boots and equipment regularly. You're also advised, where possible, to house them in a way that reduces contact with wild birds, which should be kept away from all feed, water and bedding. Chief Vet Amy Beckett says bird keepers should remain vigilant and take action to protect their birds due to the increased risk. The virus, she says, which affects poultry and wild birds, flares up in autumn and fades away in warmer months. As it's primarily a disease of birds, the risk to human health, she says, is very low. More information can be found on the DEFRA website, and anyone who suspects a case should call DEFRA's Animal Health Team on 685 844.
Beth Espy, thank you. Now, a woman contemplating a move to the Isle of Man says the island opens people's eyes to the possibility of what could be. Alex Essery reached out to the Manx community on Facebook for advice following recent developments in the States. She told Manx Radio the impacts of Hurricane Helene and the outcome of the US election have been a 1-2 punch. She says she and her husband are exhausted, physically and emotionally devastated.
So I think we're on week 7, I want to say 7 weeks ago. We were hit by Hurricane Helene, and, I'm still living without water. I'm really fortunate that I have power and that my home was on higher ground. So I had some flooding in my basement, but I didn't lose my house. My house didn't get washed away. But yeah, I'm still without water. Which is, it's like the little things, like how much water does it take to make mashed potatoes, right? The little things every day. Yeah, with the election, I'm not surprised that it went the way it did, but I am disappointed and honestly, to be perfectly frank, rather disgusted. It's scary as an American with, friends in the LGBTQ population, people of color, people who look different, and with the election going the way it did, there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of anxiety, having friends reach out and messaging each other yesterday being like, hey, are you physically safe? Are you okay? And then our options as women with this news is basically like, well, you can either take some self-defense classes, you can arm yourself, or you can leave the country. And just having that as a reality of our day to day of like, okay, are we safe? Is this okay? It's a lot. It's a lot. I think one thing that really hit me yesterday as well, that's kind of adding on to why the Isle of Man is so special, is, I posted that on Facebook, and I think this morning I checked and I had 130 responses. And then I had, I think maybe like 5 or 6 people reach out to me via direct messages, just offering their help. Like, that's not something that would happen in the United States. Like, that's not the kind of community and just open arms attitude. And so I'm really grateful, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been so kind and welcoming.
Alex Essery speaking there. You can find more on that story over at manxradio.com. You're listening to Update. The time now approaching 5:20. A veteran will be running 111 kilometres on Monday, the 11th of November, in memory of all men and women who've served or are serving in the British forces. Christopher Hopkins from Bromley also hopes to raise £11,111 for the Royal British Legion. He says taking on the 111 fundraiser challenge on Remembrance Day is special for him, as the 11th is an important day, of course, and the Royal British Legion does a lot of work in supporting veterans like him and serving members.
During lockdown, I lost my job like so many, so I was struggling to pay bills. I was just fortunate enough that I'm ex-forces, and I contacted the Royal British Legion. They're pretty much straight away offering a grant to keep my head above water, which helped massive, took a lot of pressure off, a lot of the strain off at the time. Also, I've gone through a bit of a lifestyle change. A couple of years ago I was like 19 stone, unfit and not really looking after myself, so I changed everything and started using the fitness side of things to try and do something positive. So like last year I ran 10k a day for a local charity. It helps keep me motivated, it helps keep me disciplined regarding my fitness and my health, and also it's it leads to hopefully something positive for a charity.
It's on the 11th of November. You're trying to raise £11,111, and you're also going to be running 111 kilometres.
Yeah, the total funding raised isn't massively important. I just use those figures because obviously it uses the 11 for the 11th. Obviously I know that's a big number to ask to get raised. It was just what figure could I put there? If we managed to get close to that target, it would be amazing. It'd be a nice big chunk of money for the charity. But I'm not stressing about trying to hit that target. It's just trying to get as much funding coming in to support them. But yeah, so 111 kilometres. We're starting at the memorial in Castletown and then just basically running pretty much around the whole island, and then finishing at the memorial in Douglas.
Well, wishing Chris all the best of luck. Nominations are now open for the Rhai Blina Vannanan, the Isle of Man's most prestigious cultural award. Last year it was given to Adrian Corkill, whose research into the maritime history of the Isle of Man and his generosity in sharing his findings was recognised. Our Phil Gaughan caught up with Director of Culture Vannin, Dr Brisha Madrell, to find out more.
The Rhai Blina Vannanan, or Manannan's Choice of the Year, is the top cultural award in the Isle of Man. It's like our January New Year's honours, and the wonderful thing about it is it's up to the public to nominate people.
What are the sort of criteria that you assess this against?
You're looking for somebody who's made a contribution, or it could be a group of people who've made a contribution to Manx culture, and that's in a really broad sense of the word culture, just as our remit at Culture Vannin includes the Manx language, music and dance and folklore. It also includes Manx archaeology, Manx history, law, ecology. So it's a really wide interpretation of what culture is. And then the panel are looking for either something outstanding that's happened recently, or a long-standing contribution to Manx culture that could be over decades. Some people have been working for 40 or 50 years to support Manx culture, and somebody might have done something so remarkable that it would draw their attention. So it's up to members of the public to think of somebody or a group of people that they think are worthy of this award.
5:23. Last night saw more than £4,000 raised by the Manx community presented to the Southern 100 Club for its work to provide racing down south each year. Colin Scott is the bar manager of the Old Market Inn. His customers raised £3,000, whilst £1,250 was put together by Patricia Clegg in what is her 28th year of raising money for Blount.
I love to do something for the club in memory of my late husband. He asked me when he was dying, please keep in touch with the Southern 100 and do what you can for them. And I said, yes, I certainly would. And that's what I've done.
For yourself and all those that contribute as well, what makes the Southern 100 year after year such a great cause to be getting behind?
Well, I mean, all the competitors are so brilliant. The club members are wonderful as well. They do so much for the club. But I must say, which I should have said before, the fundraising that I do, thankfully Colin and Kath have very kindly let me sell all my gift things here and my craft things. And without them, I couldn't do it. But most of all, the customers of the Old Market Inn, they have been brilliant supporting me.
Colin, the fact that customers have donated so much yet again, how good is that to see, your customers getting behind such a good cause?
Well, considering the size of the place, I think it's amazing that the amount of money that they've put in. I really do, because when you consider £3,000 is a lot of money these days.
Looking at what the Southern, just how good are they, what they do in putting on great racing each year?
Obviously the racing is fantastic that they put on, and for us to be a part of that in any small way, it means a lot to the pub. It really does.
Great efforts. And Manx Radio sports editor Rob Pritchard, who was there last night, joins us with today's sporting news. Fast am I, Rob?
Fast am I, yeah, just thinking about the Old Market, and it's amazing to think sometimes that such a small venue can just make such a big contribution to road racing on the Isle of Man time and time again. A lovely evening it was. OK, in terms of sport, first this evening, Douglas High School Old Boys, they have the chance to go top of Ardern and Drug Unlimited Division 2 as the latest game week in Isle of Man football beckons this weekend. Among Saturday's ties, Old Boys welcome struggling Douglas and District, knowing a win or a draw at home would push them above current table toppers Braddon, who have a rest week. Among the ties in the top flight, leaders Ayr United, who overcame a big scare at struggling Morale last week, are back on home territory, and Andres against St John's United. You can view all of this weekend's fixtures at manxradio.com. Rugby now, and after a rest week last weekend, Douglas return to action tomorrow, targeting a third home win in a row in Regional 2 Northwest. They welcome newly promoted Northwich to Portashee. That match gets underway tomorrow at 2 p.m. Meanwhile, can Vagabonds break their duck in this season's Counties 3 ADM Lancashire-Cheshire season? Their latest opportunity to get their first points on the board this campaign sees them travel to Clitheroe tomorrow with a kick-off time to be announced. And domestically, one tie domestically awaits, in the north of the island this weekend in the Manx Shield. Ramsey face Southern Nomads at Morag Park on Saturday at 2:15 p.m. And finally, league action returns in Manx hockey this weekend, and two top-flight heavyweights will meet in what could be a crucial battle in the title race. Second-place Vikings A on 12 points take on defending champions Valkyries A in third, who are 2 points back. Both will be looking to keep pace with undefeated leaders Backers A, who sit atop on 14 points. They face Castletown Celts tomorrow. You can see a full list of Saturday's league hockey fixtures on our website.
Rob Pritchard, who'll be back in a few moments with Friday's Sport Preview, a look ahead to all the sporting action this weekend. That's it for the update this evening. Chris Kinley will be here in an hour with Greatest Hits, and Update will be back on Monday. In the meantime, have a great weekend.